Right. Great. Welcome, folks. Thanks for being here. This is the City of Helena Zoning Commission work session. I'm Chair Harbage, Rebecca Harbage. It looks like we do have a full zoning commission here with us. So zoning commissioners just want to introduce themselves. Great.
Nicole Anderson, member of the zoning commission.
Betsy Story, member of the zoning commission.
Kim Wilson, member of the zoning commission.
Thanks. We've got some members of the public with us tonight, and I appreciate that very much. Thanks for taking the time out of your days. I'm sure you're busy with the rest of your lives. Thank you. Let me just find April. Do we have an agenda we can follow up? Oh, sure. Just a minute. We have one thing on our agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we can.
It is sign ordinance.
Yeah. I know that there were a handful of additional items that needed to be added, amended. Following our last attempt at a hearing last month. So I think we could start, Michael, with you, you should walk us through what's been changed since we last about this.
So I think one of our, the biggest changes to start with would be the temporary signs. So we ran into that issue where we didn't have a cutout for temporary signs for exemptions. We outlined it that they would need to, and it's under 1123-4B, which is page 8. To give a start and end date of a time frame that would be listed on the sign, that start and end date not exceed 60 calendar days, that the signs are not illuminated in any fashion, that the signs are not erected in a permanent manner, and that they follow the requirements of their zoning districts outlined below. Residential, purely residential districts, a temporary freestanding sign not to exceed 6 square feet, are sort of mixed use districts. One sign not to exceed 12 square feet, and then in our commercial and PLI zoning districts, 2 temporary signs that not individually exceed 24 square feet or exceed 32 square feet in the aggregate. These are, of course, placeholder figures, and I've also received comments on these to eliminate the 1 signs, which probably mean and probably allow a larger square footage allotment for each property, without we can cap individual signs at a similar amount, to allow people to have multiple freestanding signs at their discretion. Basically to have a certain amount of square footage that they then choose to use. As opposed to being too prescriptive about having 1 sign. But in general, this is, my placeholder legislation, or my placeholder wording, and, for you to change at your, however you like.
Let's. Fair, discuss, just to make sure we get through everyone who's on this change.
A little bit of legal language at the beginning at applicability, to make sure that we apply to all signs erected. Um. A correction to 1123(1)DH for off premises signs, including billboard signs, as opposed to starting with billboard signs. And then the inclusion of the annexation requirement. A change, I believe this was from public comment to freestanding sign, to change it to a sign supported by structures or supports, just to broaden that. The monument sign brought back the 6-foot cap, and again, just to have that conversation again, there's a different requirement that requires if you don't have 8 feet to walk under a freestanding sign, that be installing a monument sign. To basically to create a switch point for when and you need to follow the monument sign regulations as opposed to the freestanding sign location regulations. Without the height requirement, that didn't make sense. Certainly the height requirement put in here at 6 feet is what's currently in code. And that's why it was just being brought forward. Language adjustment for off-premise and suspended sign. On 11.344, we removed the 2 menu boards. That did not pass the read test about being content neutral. We just discussed the temporary signage. Otherwise. The off-premise signs section from non-conforming or 1123(7)F, that was scratched because it was redundant at that point. Legal language for the removal of signs to make it more explicitly clear that the person who the city has to remove the sign from and incurs those costs. That's under 1123(8)B for people following along. So under the section B for direction sign, under directional signs in the design standards. From some of the feedback I got today, we may need to revisit whether or not we can separate directional signs at all. And if we do, we shouldn't, we likely shouldn't be so dictating what's written on them quite that much.
Section was that on?
1123 9B.
17 of the red line.
1123 9B, which is 17.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sandwich board signs didn't really get eliminated, just got moved into its appropriate alphabetical order. Got more specific about projecting signs. And how they're being measured. And. Yes, that's a good summary.
Of the big changes tonight, which is the addition of language regarding temporary signs, starting on page 8. Yeah.
Plan for public comment.
Yeah, since we have a lot of us joining, if you want to, we have time for all of you to weigh in, because we're interested in hearing from you. We do only have 1 hour, because we have a hearing at 6, that we're gonna have to all for. But crunches our time quite a bit, as you can understand. I'd like to make sure that we get a chance for the zoning commission to at least address any major concerns that we see with what's been added to the ordinance. Any thoughts on the addition on page 8 to page 9, addressing temporary signs?
I don't know how many.
The size of the pool that each house can draw on. Of square footage.
As long as it's enforced and they're temporary, I don't have concern with the actual size. And if they're not, I think the language regarding not erected in a permanent manner is critical, obviously, so that they don't seem like they're permanent.
We had this discussion several times about reasonable size when you're talking about. People that feet we're sitting in this room and not looking at a sign. So if we have any sort of like criteria of what a reasonable type of sign. And
Like a
yeah,
typical.
scale sign. Direction. Sounds good to me. Something. Go off of for that. That seems like the most common use that we were trying to make sure we addressed here. And there's other uses that that's like
Especially
the big one
especially
in the residential, yeah.
Maybe a public comment. They may have.
Mhm.
options first.
Very. I will note the question of the 6 square feet. Is traditional or sufficient? Other comments on the concept of limiting the number versus the total square footage?
Is this intended primarily for real estate? Signs or?
Yes. I mean. It has to remain constant, so it's not, it's for whatever sign somebody wants to put in their yard.
I guess since it is content neutral, it would include.
Yeah.
So, because I would comment, I don't know if 60 days might be long enough, maybe 90. Might be more appropriate. Or up to the discretion of the commission, but 60 seems a little short.
And we are going to need to remove the requirement, given making it one particular sign, so it's going to be, that square footage requirement is gonna be a pool of square feet that they can use.
That's your call. Where you want.
If people have opinions about more than one thing, they need, and they want two signs, they get to have two signs. Basically
You can
it.
say it.
Well, no, I mean, you know, we'd be running into a sort of a potential freedom of speech issue there, so. We can limit the total number of square footage, but it's safer to have them figure out their allotment of signs as opposed to being so prescriptive that they can only have opinions on one thing at one time.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with having a pool, I just wanna make sure I know whether it's a legal requirement or. Nothing heard that I want, but.
No, it's a recommendation.
Also, this temporary sign is not gonna die on a political sign in someone's front yard. The importance of a temporary sign and the conversations we've been having the last couple of months are based on commercial temporary signs, not political signs, for the record. I think we would all agree with that. I mean, it's related, but I think I've heard in the conversations, these political signs and like yard signs are not what's driving that conversation.
Just the tendency for things to be left
Yeah,
for a very long time.
right.
Until they're very dilapidated.
Right, the goal is to have a permanent sign that, you know, creates community.
Yeah, the lights, that's right, good thought on the sizing for commercial.
Same statement, as long as it is temporary and not permanent in nature, and it's enforced. Limiting signs for that matter.
You stop on the sign. Probably will have temporary signs.
Signs,
Yeah.
match, I mean, why does it have to be different? If it's temporary to be a placeholder for the permanent, then it should align with what the permanent would be.
Well, they're not attached as, I think, securely as part of the. Hopefully. Elevation.
Yeah.
So they could be more like to. Outdoors.
That's true,
Might be some of the considerations.
to have a smaller sign.
Have a
to your
smaller
point.
sign.
Temporary signs in addition. But, alright, that's all Michael. Temporary. Shouldn't be subject to, you can only have this if you don't use your square footage for permanent sign.
No, it'd be exempt. Okay.
Oh, that's fair, I appreciate that clarification, yeah.
And that could be the city's approach. If someone were to come in and propose a temporary sign for 60 or 90 days, followed by another temporary sign for 90 days, followed by another temporary sign.
I mean, it would be.
Look, already slow.
What is the point of the? Paperwork. I mean, is there a situation which after 90 days, we would say, you know, you need to put that time, it's time has passed. Too ragged or anything, like there's a thing you could. Anyway, right? That situation.
Yeah, they would need to basically renew it, update it, pay attention to it.
Other thoughts, temporary signs? Does the zoning commission have comments on any of the other changes that were made since we last reviewed the ordinance?
So
I don't have concern. Be able to split it up on minutes.
So we have received this past weekend, I think, some really, really valuable feedback
Sure,
that will strengthen this code quite a bit.
yeah,
Um,
yes,
so do want to just say we very much appreciate everybody who's given us comments so far. It's been very, really valuable feedback. I am curious to see how the zoning commission wants to plan around incorporating some of this stuff and what that sort of timeline looks like. So,
Well, I would ask staff, I suppose, since we have heard that if we don't wrap this tonight, and take it to a hearing, that it's going to not happen until maybe 5 or 6 at
uh,
all.
I think now that we have actually gotten some public engagement started, then we can,
They're gonna help. I mean, there's
Awesome,
definitely
thank you.
a few things in the code that need to be updated or outdated. You know, it's gonna hear from you know, signs go where and what the standards are and what the needs are. So.
may I ask before we start public comment, if I may? What changed in the last week? We've been meeting for the room. If I may, again, we've been meeting all summer on this code, and we've been having work session after work session. So I just wonder, did we do our outreach a different way, which is great, very positive, because obviously we have
Yeah,
lots of people
we want you
here.
here. It's wonderful. We want to do it once.
How can we do that better next time?
the industry email I sent out originally,
Yes,
was probably worded conservatively.
Okay.
And sent to too few companies,
okay,
and basically I got no response on it.
great, I recall that as well, yes. Okay,
So the more recent one, I think what sort of grabbed everybody's attention is the sunsetting of billboards.
sure.
So I put that out more in the front.
And so, do I understand correctly that we are not bound by having to immediately set this for a hearing, but rather can take some more time to incorporate what we hear tonight and perhaps another work session where we don't have a time constraint?
Correct.
Oh, because we are constrained on time tonight and we have a huge stack of comments, which is wonderful, and I would love to hear all of the feedback on how we non-sign experts should fix this code. I would be interested in having like scheduling a public session. I know the city did some drop-ins.
The
24th.
We had one before. We thought we would catch a little bit more attention with a press release. No media article ended up running off of our press release, so that one kind of didn't go anywhere really. So we're doing another drop-in session on the 24th, and we're gonna try to re-engage local media.
Is that? Sorry, I see you have your hand raised. We'll get to that you in just a second. On the 24th, is that session during work hours, in the evening?
Yeah, so it'll be 8 to 6. I'll need to take a lunch.
So my question is related to zoning commission being able to hear feedback. That makes it, at least for me, that makes it very challenging to attend and hear the feedback on this code that we are supposed to be drafting.
I mean, we could certainly do a full sign work session kind of thing. There's a lot. That your regular hearing times are being scheduled, I think, pretty regularly for the next few months. So I don't know if you'd want to do a special date later in the month or something like that to do a bigger signs only work session in public session.
Or could the commentary be transcribed or some version of a Zoom recording so that we could listen to it?
We would typically just be taking notes with a working session and documenting it that way. With a drop-in session, we could record. People are sometimes uncomfortable with that, but
Yeah, well,
we can record.
for recording those drop-in sessions.
I just think, at least speaking for myself, in order to speak intelligently about this ordinance that we are going to be proposing to the city commission, I would like to have all of the feedback from the experts. with us. And I will try and get to those. But given that we have half an hour, I want to make sure that your perspectives are honored. So I think with that, maybe let's jump to public.
Yeah, I mean, I just wonder whether an additional work session devoted to this for a couple hours, maybe in addition to your maybe meetings during the weekday, but I think if we had something where folks could come back if they wanted to.
I agree. I need to have it recorded.
Yeah.
And Chair, I was gonna just mention, don't still up to one, just do it for multiple. We'll have as many as we make.
Okay, let's go public comment. Please, sir. And if you don't mind, when you provide comment, please introduce yourselves. So we know.
Earl Charles, president of Branded Sign Solutions. Formerly president of the United States Sign Council. It's a nationwide sign organization. We did a ton of national sign studies and published a model sign code that was available to any city planner, any city zoning commission, anybody that wants it, to use it as a basis to start from. The other thing that I wanted to mention is, I believe it might have been this very room, but several years ago, we went through several workshops when Elroy was here. And we had public businesses invited, we had sign companies invited, and we all put together, when we came down, when we finished, it may not have been something that everybody was happy with, but we all knew that it was something we could all live with. Why didn't we start with that? The only reason that got tabled was because there was 2 city commissioners that said we got to ban the message centers, and that wasn't a part of that sign code, so they tabled the whole thing, and now here we are 5, 6, 7 years later, and it looks like, and I apologize if I'm mistaken, but it looks like it was started without any studies. I mean, what national studies have you looked into? What sign companies put input? I've been in the sign industry for 46 years. I've been in Helena for 21. We've been doing sign for a long, long time. Okay, I can also tell you that I even have a couple of my customers here. We have lots of businesses that would love to have input into how it's going to affect their business. Now, lastly, I would just say this. My career has taken me from Detroit to San Diego to Reno to Helena, and I've been here the longest. But while I was in San Diego, I saw 2 cities, the city of San Diego and the city of Escondido, that both went overly restrictive. They did a clamp down on signage. Within 3 to 5 years, both of them reversed it because it caused so much damage to the landscape, to the industry as a whole, and to businesses and the business climate. And so I would just say, I think you're very wise at getting some involvement from both the sign companies and the business owners before you go making some, what I think are draconian measures in here. I mean, like, one of my fortes is message centers. I do message centers all over the state and have for years. One message every 8 minutes. There's nowhere in the nation, not a single place in the nation that does that, unless you found it in some place in Oregon or someplace like that that I don't know about. But I'm telling you, it just doesn't even happen. The billboard is the slowest thing you have, and it changes every 8 seconds. And so I'm just saying, please, please, please get some involvement from us. We'll be glad to be a part of it. I've helped write 5 or 6 different sign codes in my years. I'll be glad to help you in any way that I can. And let's get the business owners involved as well.
Ben Twenty with Yesco Signs and Lighting. I'm gonna piggyback off of what Earl just said. We appreciate the time. We feel that, kind of like what Michael and I were talking about prior to the meeting tonight, just an opportunity to marinate on this and to slow it down, get everybody's involvement in it, thoughts without just pushing it through. So we're excited for that meeting coming up here in the next week or so. Again, the message center part of it doesn't make sense. So, but thank you for the invitation, and excited to see what we can do to make this work for everybody. So thank you.
Hi there. My name's Bob Alvarez, another Alvarez, good name. I'm with Yesco Outdoor Media, representing the outdoor division. Obviously, we have a lot of concerns with the restrictions that are being proposed here. We too would very much like to be part of that process and to help kind of write the regulations to where everybody becomes a beneficiary of it. It could be capital collision, having a sign, advertising their local business to the local bookstore, the local lawn and garden store. Not only is it going to have a detriment effect to our company, we actually have an office here in Helena. The businesses and the tax dollars that are going to be significantly affected is of great concern. So as a few of the other gentlemen indicated, we're happy to take part in that process and just welcome it to parts. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Allie Carly. I'm with Lamar Advertising. I also have a colleague who's on Zoom right now as well. The primary concern is the elimination of outdoor off-premise billboards that is in the sign code. That is absolutely what we're most concerned with on the outdoor front. We work with a lot of local businesses. We also work with a lot of local property owners that receive payments from our locations. We also work with a lot of local nonprofits where we donate billboard space all across the state, also for sure in Helena, but across the state as well, where we get messages out there for clients, businesses, nonprofits, cities alike, where it's there 24/7, 365 days a year. If you probably put the notice on a billboard, I feel like you would have gotten a quicker response from some of us. Of course, I have to say that. But I mean, I feel like that's something that's always there. It's there for people to see, and it's a way to get the message out there. So I truly feel that this is, it provides positive economic impact to the community here. And without that, it could, be detrimental to the community. They're just a great, clear communication device, and it's absolutely the primary concern for us. At Lamar, and I hope you take that into consideration and let us be a part of helping write the sign code. We do this all across the country. We have assets with OAAA where they can provide suggestions and what works across the country. The point made earlier by Earl, our digital billboards change every 6 seconds here in the state of Montana. So it's not scrolling, it's not moving, it's a static message that is up for 6 seconds at a time, and then it switches. You're not even gonna notice it change. It's just a very quick, instant change. I mean, you'll notice it change, I shouldn't say it like that, but you're not gonna notice the movement while it changes. It's very quick. And we certainly wanna work with the community and be good stewards in the community here and partner with you guys, and we just would love the opportunity to help write this code. Thank you.
Thank you.
with signs, kind of go off of everything too. I'm gonna stand here for 8 minutes before I see the next message. So they're kind of moving on to that, but there's also, part of it is, when you see the local 4-H and people are sponsoring, from different businesses and companies. Like, for example, at the fairgrounds, along their front gate, you have a lot of local businesses with off-site signage right there. The other thing I wanted to mention too is there's some safety concerns that I think you guys are addressing. For example, the signs that are starting to fall apart. Fixed and updated, but I'll have a little bit more notes and pencil sharpened for our next work session.
Awesome, thank you.
October 24th. Wouldn't mind dropping in.
What time, just to clarify?
So October 24th, the drop-in session is gonna start at
8
8 AM and it'll go to 6 PM. And from like noon to 1, I'll probably be at lunch.
So my question for the drop-in session is, why a drop-in session rather than a meeting where we can all engage? Because a drop-in session dilutes all the things. I don't know what you had to say. I don't know what Corey had to say. I mean, I think it makes a lot more sense if we're all together and we're all putting in input at the same time.
Teamwork.
And I don't want to speak for Chair Harvard, but I think that was, I think
What's that?
I think they're.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it.
I like that much better.
So can I clarify then? So the drop-in session is not just something devoted to science, it's something
No, that,
across the board
it's the-
issues.
it would be devoted to science, informational gathering, to verbally leave a comment if they wanted to. It's just another way.
I know someone that was at the drop-in session at 3:15 and there wasn't a soul in the room.
Sure. So then the follow-up question is, are we going to schedule the work session with the board gonna be for an evening work session? Because I think that's what these folks are asking about.
So it'll be scheduled with enough notice.
I mean, the purpose of the drop-in session is also to allow folks who are not necessarily industry professionals to provide their feedback as well, and who may not be able to make time and space to come give their feedback also about how they want the community to look, correct? Like, we're not
Oh, absolutely.
to industry professionals, so that might be part of the benefit of having longer hours at different times for different folks.
Please.
One of the record furniture group. I'm just curious why that you don't have a signed person on your board already. I mean, it just seems to make sense to me. So when I have questions, I go ask people that know what they're talking about. I don't just throw a ball at the wall and see what happens. So anyway, that just a question.
Bruce Halcrow, Capital Collision Center. My main concern for the message boards. As I drive around town, I don't see one message board that's in Hill River. They're all very nice. They're very well taken care of. If we could have all the signs like that, we'd be way ahead. But to have a message board that only changes every 8 minutes, we'll call that a novel. Be a message board. That's totally against what they were designed to do. You guys really need to reconsider that.
What was your first name?
What's that?
What was your first name?
Bruce.
Thank you.
We have a hand raised online, Chair Harbage, James Carpentier.
Go ahead, James.
Hello, can you hear me?
For Kim.
Oh, great. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to speak. It's James Carpentier here, and I'm here on behalf of the Northwest Sign Council and the International Sign Association. And we work with jurisdictions throughout the Northwest and beyond. I work throughout the West and Southeastern United States. And we really work with jurisdictions to assist and, educate and trying to get regulations that are beneficial and enforceable, for everybody. So I just wanted to mention, I mean, I sent you a lot of stuff, a lot of information, a number of suggestions. I'm certainly not going to go over everything that I sent over, but I really, once again, I really appreciate the opportunity to speak a little bit here, and just wanted to mention the concern, just a couple of major concerns, and one that I don't think was mentioned is wall sign regulations. Right now, it's allowed 30% of the facade to be a wall sign, which is a little unusual because I would agree that that's not typical. But what's proposed at 3%, I would say is definitely not typical, and one that I suggested and did talk briefly with Michael about possibly just doing some type of testing with different facades to find out exactly, what might work better. Because I have a feeling for smaller type structures, that's not going to work too well. For the largest ones, that might work okay. But I think we need to figure something else out. And for the EMC regulations, clearly there's been a lot of input on that. The 8-minute hold time is way too long. What's existing at 7.5 seconds is reasonable and does provide businesses and others to provide information on what they have to offer. The other issues are the brightness guidelines are about 4 times brighter than what we would recommend. And we have some model language that I sent over to Michael, and also we have some concerns with the 50% limitation, simply because static signs, when they're properly regulated, when not too bright, it's just another really effective means for advertising, and we would recommend that there not be that limitation, and go with the current code. I do have a number of other recommendations, but I don't have the time, and I don't think this is quite the right forum to give those additional ones. But those are some of the main concerns that we have, and we look forward to providing any assistance and any suggestions that we can in any part of the code coming down the road. So we're here to help, and if there's anything that we can do down the road, or any information that you need or seek, we're here to help. So thanks again. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk.
Thank you, James. Thanks for the resources as well.
If you don't mind, I'd like to piggyback on that just real quick. If any of you are gonna be heading to Billings anytime in the near future, when you get to Laurel, take a look at the Chevrolet dealership. Their entire sign, 100% of it, is a message center. And because the entire sign is a message center, most of the time, all you see is the Chevrolet logo. But then you'll see an ad that pops up that's a stagnant ad, and then it'll change back to the Chevrolet logo. And actually, it's really the best use of the square footage. If they had to put in the amount of square footage they were allowed, if trying to reach the freeway, if they'd have had to put a Chevrolet logo on top and then a small message center below, they would be running, it would look horrible. It looks so much better the way they've done that. And so you might just want to take a look at it, drive by it and see it, because it really is done in really good taste.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm Jay Korth with Auto Truck Signs and Graphics, and we've been in business for over 20 years in Helena. But one of my big concerns is I didn't even know this was going on until another sign company told me what was happening. So.
Thank you.
That's for me as well. I found out from a customer, he saw a Facebook post by one of the city commissioners, and the customer said, "Hey, did you know about this?" I didn't know anything about it. And I am licensed in the city of Helena. I have been doing business here for 21 years, and I never got an email, not one. I sent you one earlier today.
I replied.
Do we have a sign-in sheet so that we are?
We do. We have a sign-in sheet outside, and I have another one that I can provide here in the room. So if I can get everyone's email, I'm pretty sure to invite you to the next session.
Who else?
Let's have a card on.
We will be scheduling another work session, so maybe we'll chat about dates, you know.
Wrong one.
No. Also a new business portion in our hearing. Here we go. Is that allowed? Okay, let's talk about it.
Sorry.
And again, anyone online who would like to be invited, please email me directly, apsparks@helenamt.gov. apsparks@helenamt.gov. I'll make sure you are all invited.
Do we have limitations on dates from city staff?
I'd have to look at calendar, let's see. November will be difficult because there's a lot of holidays. Next Tuesday, we have planning board. We have the last week of October. 31st, although I don't think anyone wants to do it on Halloween.
In costume?
So when you say last week. week
The
of
last full
September,
week, yes.
What dates are available that week?
Pretty much every day, although you're dropping is that Tuesday.
We do Tuesday.
Yeah. Going into November,
People would it be possible to do that Tuesday, the 24th in the evening.
Sure,
We'll be back on
yeah, I'll be, yeah.
Chair, the only limitation, we wouldn't be able to synthesize all the comments.
From that, from
to you,
that
'cause
drop in.
It would be back to back. So we
Yeah.
couldn't-
You said till 6.
Looking into November.
Well,
It,
Chris, you could synthesize this stack as the starting place to bring to the drop-in session and then bring to the work
Thank
session.
you guys very much for being here.
unless you wanted to do a Wednesday or a Thursday evening. Because we could do the 25th or the 26th.
I'm not here. Actually,
It should- it should have been that.
He grabbed it.
Oh.
He's got it here.
Oh, he had, so we got another one.
Same. November, that's not.
We can definitely do the 24th.
Mhm.
And I didn't want to make an excuse, but it's gonna be a hard day.
So we'll.
But we will have
some.
sent us something to do after the work session too, so maybe it's cool.
So I will put that on the calendar for the 24th. I'll send something out tomorrow.
Okay, or what time?
You want to do 5 o'clock, 5:30 or 6 o'clock? And since he's already scheduled his drop in until 6. Okay.
Start at 6?
Start at 6.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, 10:24, 2 weeks from today.
Just clarify, October 24th, 8 AM to 6 PM is the drop-in session, then we're gonna do a work session.
Yes.
And I would encourage folks, if you have some time between now and then, if you haven't already done it, the red line version that's out on the city's website, please go through that and tear it up and tell us all of your thoughts.
That can be, honestly.
We do
We
read
really
the
do
stuff, we
appreciate that.
promise, ahead of time
No.
too. No, we appreciate it, it's good to partner together.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
And if you wanna volunteer to be on the zoning commission, you're welcome to.
I live in Billings, so I would, but I'm happy to drive up to help.
Maybe you can take a picture of the Chevy sign.
I could take a video if that's something you guys would be interested in. I do, I drive by it all the time, so I'm happy.
It's
to
also
take it.
dangerous, so we don't wanna put your life
Oh.
in your hands to the video.
I'll make my husband drive, it's fine.
Okay, perfect. Is there any other public comments before we
Sure, because he was meeting with things.
Sign in, pass around, so we have to speak figure.
We have one more online. Okay.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you guys for your time. My name's Kelly Strobe. I'm with Lamar Outdoor Advertising. And again, thank you guys for your time. I know this is not easy. It is a process. We just went through a recode in Billings and it took over 2 years. So I don't anticipate this being that way, especially with everybody working together, because it all did as well start out as just streamlining everything to the negative toward a lot of business owners and stuff like that, as well as outdoor advertising companies and local sign companies. So I appreciate the openness working with everybody. I think it's a good thing to clean stuff up, but at the same time, make it fair and workable to everybody. So like I said, we're looking forward to working with you guys and appreciate your guys' time. So thank you.
Appreciate your time as well. Any other comment? Yeah. go ahead.
Just two quick things. One, I do appreciate your openness. It really, I mean, even before we got our chances to speak, it sounded like you guys were open. Second thing is, it's an observation that may be right, might be wrong, but it sounds like most of the opinions and positions you were taking were based on personal opinion rather than some sort of national study or something that you could go back and review versus, well, I think, personally, that just doesn't work because the business owners and the sign people probably know better than anybody else what really will work. And trust me, I'm the sign guy that if you ask me to build you something that I think is really ugly and nasty looking, I'm gonna tell you to call one of my competitors. I really am. I'm not just taking your money. Because down the road, you're gonna be mad at me anyway, because I let you do it. So, that's just a reality. So thank you for your openness and please we'll be here. We'll come, we'll help, we'll do whatever we need. We want to make it better for everybody.
We also take note, yeah, and ask for a sign. Yeah, we're all probably perfect.
I'll come out.
We all work together.
Sweetheart, thank you. All right, well, I think we have about 5 minutes before our hearing starts. Really, again, appreciate everybody taking the time to be here. So let us know that you are here and you are interested in this. That's awesome.
It's a lot of our livelihood.
We appreciate it so much. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you.
That closes our work session.